Welcome to Talking Shop, the Communities Inc. podcast. Let's talk about addiction.
Welcome to our podcast. We're joined by Mel today. Hi Mel, how are you doing?
Hi, you all right?
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What have you been doing in the past and what are you up to now?
Okay, so I'm Mel. I'm here representing Inclusive Recovery City, Nottingham, which is trying to make Nottingham more inclusive, reduce stigma and educate people about people in recovery. So the basic idea is to link all the organisations that are recovery guided to talk to each other, because a lot of organisations don't know other organisations and there's a lot of crossover and there's also a lot of gaps as well. So we're having to do surveys to find out what people know. We're trying to get events together so that people can talk to each other, and we're also educating various parts of the community. So we've just been doing a bit with the police, the job centre, to get people to change their language and just change the way they see people that are addicted but are trying to make the best of it by being recovery.
Yeah. And by recovery, what do you mean specifically? Recovery from?
We're mainly recovery from drugs and alcohol, but obviously because when you start recovering you then have other issues. It's a bit like which came first, the chicken or the egg. Did you have the mental health problem before the drink, or did the drink cause the mental health problem? And once you stop using or drinking, you quite often find that these things come to the surface and actually need more resources than you first thought. So we're also linking all those units together. We are mainly signposting and trying to create databases so other people know what other organisations are out there.
Yeah. So how did you come to doing this work?
Well, my story starts quite a while ago. I actually ended up losing everything in January of 2022 through alcohol, unfortunately. So one day I was quite happily running a pub, living a normal life, and the next day I was on the streets with £4.50 in my pocket and no roof over my head. And unfortunately that also meant I had to leave the cat. I always mention the cat because everybody wants to know about the cat. By the time we have ended up with these stories, they ask about the cat, they don't ask about me when I next bump into them. So, yeah. Which, unfortunately, as I say, meant that I was homeless and at the bottom of the bottle. I was lucky, I had friends that allowed me to sofa hop. So although I was homeless Monday 9 till 5, I did have somewhere to leave some stuff, get changed and make myself look respectable.
Yeah.
During that time, I tried various different organisations, and it was a case I was falling through the cracks. Every time I raised my head to say, can you help me, there was something in the way. Whether it was I had the wrong postcode, whether I was the wrong age, the wrong sex. And I eventually got to somewhere called Nottingham Recovery Network, which is based on Castlegate. And it's a really nice unit. Everything's under the same roof. So I went in there, had my triage. They said, yes, we can help you. Come back, give me a key worker. And the programme started from there. They got me sober, got me in touch with Framework, who was able to find me somewhere to live. Not only were they able to find me somewhere to live, they let me take the cat with me. So I was able to pick the cat up.
So the cat was all right?
The cat's all right. She was, unfortunately, the pub did feed her for me, and one of the eunuchs next door decided that she liked dreamies. So she was a bit of a barrel at one point. I went in to see her one day because obviously I still needed to make sure she'd got the food and everything. And she looked like she was, a barrel with fur and no legs. I went in to see them and they went, oh yeah, the woman next door's feeding her. So I went into the woman next door, what are you feeding her? 3 bags of Dreamies a day. Yeah. You could laugh.
Lots of snacks.
Lots of snacks. So she was instantly put on a diet. Through Nottingham Recovery Network, I got sober, got a roof over my head. Framework also gave me several other key workers because there were silly things that I couldn't do. I stood there and I couldn't make a cup of tea. I literally forgot everything. I went down and did a lot of education with them, relapse prevention, and eventually I ended up doing mentoring training. So I can now help other people that were in my situation, using my lived experience and showing them that recovery is possible. And if you do relapse, you know, just get back on the horse. We're not going to treat you any differently. We all trip over and scrape our knees. The thing is to make sure we don't keep scraping them.
Yeah. I think that's the important thing, isn't it? Sometimes when you fall off the horse, as it were, you sort of sometimes, it's tempting to think, well, I'll just stay off the horse then.
Yes, yeah.
But getting back on it can start you on that journey again.
Again, yeah. And it's always the roundabout of, you know, I'm depressed, I'll have a drink. The drink makes you depressed, so you have a drink.
Yeah.
Or whichever substance of choice it is. Through that, I ended up being a recovery connector with Wellness in Mind, because I'd been diagnosed with PTSD at this point. Managed to find a really good help, strangely enough, through the job centre, which a lot of people will say, oh no, that's not possible. I was in there one day having a bit of a meltdown, and the woman behind there was very responsible and very respectful, and she went and looked at my CV and went, oh, you're ex-forces, hang on a minute. And the next minute I'd got this little guy come over and he says, oh, all I deal with is ex-forces. And at one point I think I'd got 15 people looking after me through various phone calls. Wow. It even sent therapists out to my flat to assess me, make sure that I'd got everything that I need and see where I was with regard to my mental health.
Wow, that's great.
I know. I would never have known this.
Yeah.
Being of a certain age, the help wasn't there when we first got out, so we don't know where the developments are. And again, that's where the cracks are that people don't realise.
Yeah.
And that's what Nottingham Inclusive Recovery is trying to do, is trying to fill some of those cracks or highlight them to find out if there is other organisations out there that are available but people don't know about.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, how there can be several organisations offering support, but because of their lack of joined-upness or because of, like you say, some of those gaps, that initially you didn't really find anybody that could actually help you.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I'd got too much help.
Yeah.
Especially at the stage of the recovery I was at. I mean, now I've just celebrated my 3rd birthday of being sober, so which was great. And being able to help other people and using my knowledge. As I say, the people think that I've got a database in my head. It's only because I just research and research and research.
Yeah. And I guess, your lived experience, you've got a vested interest, haven't you?
I have,
in terms of, you've got personal experience of it, so you're not just somebody coming in and thinking, this is going to be interesting.
Yes, I've not been and read the book. Yeah. The amount of times you go to places and you've been to university for however many lengths and they've read the book and they think you've got to do A, B and C. Well, if you talk to someone with lived experience, they'll go, A didn't work to you, let's jump straight to E, we can go back to B if need be, but at the moment you need that help there. Yeah. And they've just got to do what they've been taught, unfortunately.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about some of the gaps that you first came across when you were needing help. Some
of it was because I'd got lack of support. I mean, I got turned down by the YMCA because I hadn't got a sponsor.
Right.
Although I knew a lot of places to look through working in the pub trade, it's one of those things where you don't listen to yourself, you don't heed your own advice. Yeah. It was initially finding that one support that you could get. Postcodes were a big issue. Through work recently, I found that you could live on one side of the street and qualify for the Nottingham City, but if you're on the opposite side of the street, you're in the county, and therefore you can't. But you've both got the same postcode. The only difference is one's an odd number and one's an even number.
Yeah, that's just crazy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
What is it that you're doing to try and bridge some of these gaps? And I know you say you're trying to sort of create a database.
So in October we actually did an event at Sobar, and we brought 20 different organisations together, invited people in recovery as well to come through, and just basically got everyone talking to each other so that they could see who's doing what, get leaflets from each other, signpost each other to what they do. Because sometimes it's a simple thing as someone set up a dog walk, for example, and and they invite people. Well, if we don't know about that and someone says they're struggling on a Sunday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and this person's got a little dog walking business round their corner, well, they can go and do that and that's them fixed. But who knew that there was the dog walker there?
Yeah.
You know, so it's all about trying to get as many people on the database as possible.
Yeah. And what sort of support do you offer now then?
The IRC, we don't actually offer any support. We are just the unit to get all of these things together to try and create this big database so it makes it easier for professionals and individuals. One of the things I'm currently doing is creating an interactive map with one of the colleges, Nottingham College, and I'm going round asking organisations to sign up, especially nightlife, so pubs, cafes, the theatres, to showcase that you can go into these places, they do offer these things, and if they don't offer them, just say to them, you know, why are you advertising a meal and a glass of wine? Why can't you advertise a meal and a drink and have the soft drinks on the same menu?
Yeah.
Why can't, like in, for example, the Playhouse, they've actually got panic rooms, which people wouldn't have even known about unless you go there. And they do a lot of things behind the scenes as well. So it's trying to showcase what they're doing as well without getting them oversubscribed.
Yeah, yeah. So you're trying to sort of plug some of those gaps that you were falling through at the time when you first needed help.
I mean, when I was at the point where I wanted to start going out, I found it very difficult to the extent that I was stood in a theatre with my back to the wall, sweat dripping off me, absolutely petrified in case somebody said hello to me. But then once I started relaxing, because stigma again is one of these things, it's a two-way thing. I thought people were going to laugh and point at me because I was now queuing for an ice cream instead of queuing for a pint. And also I didn't know where to go and get the ice cream, you know. So it's trying to showcase all that to say, look, you can go here, you can do this. These people are prepared to help you as well. So we've got a training programme to make recovery allies, which will help people understand, change language and lean into conversations, whether or not people are in recovery or you think that they should actually seek possible help, family member, somebody at work, just to give you that confidence as a person looking in to the person that's looking out.
Yeah, and you mentioned stigma. I mean, you know, what are some of the barriers that individuals that are experiencing addictions have in even reaching out to services or even, you know, being motivated to find out about what's available? A
lot of it is the embarrassment of actually reaching out to these places, somebody spotting them going in. I mean, the AA is, you know, one of the biggest ones that people use. But again, it's almost like a secret society. They don't advertise. Unless you know where to look, how can you find them? And you've got to try and find that initial string to pull to open the whole balloon, unfortunately.
Yeah. And you mentioned sort of allies.
Yeah.
You know, obviously some of these addictions, some people feel uncomfortable, you know, friends, family, even members might be reluctant to say anything, maybe not being concerned about saying the wrong thing, you know, wanting to be helpful but not knowing how to. You know, what can people do if they know somebody that has an addiction and that is wanting or needing help? What sorts of things can they do to actually help that person or support them?
Well, firstly, you've got to have a conversation with them, and it's very difficult leaning into that, especially if they don't recognise they've got a problem themselves. Unfortunately, with a lot of these problems, unless you're prepared to help yourself, no one can help you. So it's trying to get them to take that first step, to recognise they've got a problem, and recognise that there is places that they can go and get help from, which are very discreet. With the Nottingham Recovery Network, it is all one-to-ones. You wouldn't know if you were walking in there because you've got a delivery to do, you've got people going and getting the jabs and things like that. So yeah, it's all it's all very nice and clean now. It's not as seedy as it used to be, and unfortunately people still think it is the seedy side of things, and that's all they ever see. They don't see that people can hide in plain sight. I was at the college the other day giving a bit of a talk, and I was saying, you know, not all homeless people are addicts, and not all addicts are homeless. And then I explained to them that I am a homeless alcoholic, and they all sort of looked at me as if to say, no, but you can't be. You're normal, you're talking normal, you're dressed clean. Well, technically, according to the government, because of where I live, I'm still classed as homeless. So, yeah, it is all about trying to move people forward rather than... And as I said, stigma's a two-way thing.
And I guess sort of letting people know that you're there whenever, if people aren't ready, that, you know, you're there when they are ready.
When they are ready,
You know, there were some statistics that I've read around domestic violence, that women that experience domestic violence will be offered help so many times before they actually go on to accept it. But what they will say is that knowing that that support is available is
makes
really
a big
important.
difference,
Because once they make that decision, they then know where to go. You know, so, you know, offering some help, and if you get a refusal, if you get somebody not wanting to engage, don't just ignore it and leave it alone. Just gently let that person know that you're there whenever they are ready.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that's been in the past, is especially with the NHS, unfortunately, because of the funding, you get to a certain stage and then you get cut off. And it's like, okay, you've done this 12-week course, you're now sober, go off and do whatever. Well, unfortunately, you need the support, and it took me 2 years to get through all of the programmes to get to a place where I was stable enough to go into the outside world. I've still got 2 key workers now. I'm also very lucky that one of my old key workers is also now my boss. So when I am having a bad time of it, I know I can turn to someone. And that's what the allies are about, you know, just being able to say, I'm having a bad day, can I just sit down and talk to you? Most of the time when you sit and talk to someone, the problem sorts itself out because you've always known the answer. But because you're swimming around with it in your head, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And does that recovery ever end, or is it an ongoing process?
Recovery never ends, but mainly due to the fact that if I picked a drink up now, or if I picked up a drink in 25 years, I probably wouldn't put one down again. I'd have to go through the whole process. Every morning you get up and you think to yourself, hello, I'm awake, thank you. That's why most people will go to AA for 25 years. Sometimes it's because they need help, sometimes it's to help other people. But no, you are always in recovery. I say I'm a non-practising alcoholic now, a bit like a non-practising Catholic.
So could you tell us about some success stories in terms of what you and the people that you work with have achieved?
With the training course, we've got quite a few people that now feel confident about talking to people. We've managed to change some of their views. The police have actually asked us for a leaflet so that they can give it out to people, because they're not just there to police, they're there to support and help the community. And if they can give them a piece of information, and one of the things that they actually asked for was a couple of success stories on there, that people can see that there is a way forward. The easiest way of telling people how to move forward is to show them. It's all right saying, oh, but I read it in this book. But if you've actually got someone who's physically in front of you telling you that, whether it be a video, a little line on a snippet of a leaflet, or somebody like myself who's quite happy to go out and say, come on, you know, Double Impact, 75% of their staff are actually all in recovery.
So if there's somebody listening out there that maybe has an addiction and doesn't really know where to turn or doesn't really know what to do, what would you say to them? What would you say to encourage them to seek some of that help?
Speak to your doctor, first of all. Make sure that you've got no medical problems that could transpire. Most of the doctors now do have a good range of information that's available, and keep trying, just because the first one said no, you don't qualify,
Yeah.
or you don't like it, because sometimes it's the way that you're spoken to, and sometimes it's the people that are around there, sometimes it's just simple demographics that causes the problem. Quite a few of my friends don't go to AA meetings in Nottingham, they actually go outside of the area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, only because, not because they're embarrassed or whatever, they just feel comfortable of doing that.
So keep trying.
Yeah, just keep trying, put your head above the parapet.
Yeah.
It will get kicks, you will get sand put in your eyes, and you will, but keep grasping, because somewhere someone will grab hold of your hand and pull you out of it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it takes 6 months or a year. The more you try, the more options that you've got.
Yeah.
And the smaller that little circle is for you to say, actually, that one's the right one.
Yeah. I think your story is a really good example of that, isn't it? Sort of you were turned down or weren't eligible or didn't qualify.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you sort of hit this service that sounds very holistic, that sort of took you as an individual and looked at your needs and didn't sit there and say, well, we're not funded to do this or we don't do that. They sort of met what you were presenting with that you needed help with.
Yeah, and
so it is out there, isn't it?
It is out there, and it is a matter of just keep trying. Through the training programs and becoming allies and champions, there is people out there that can actually just sit and listen to you and say, well, actually, have you tried X?
Yeah.
You know, just because A didn't work,
Yeah.
we've still got other options. It's not just all about that one organisation.
And who is that training available to?
Anybody.
So anybody could go on that training?
Yeah, anyone can come on that training. We've got several different training. We've got the 3-hour one, which is the main one that we do. Advertise that on Eventbrite, so we actually hold in-house. Or if you wanted, as a company, you've got half a dozen staff that you wanted to train, we could come to you and train you. We've got the bite size, which is the 1-hour one that we do for that colleges and schools where they've only got a little amount of time. And then we just do a little 15-minute one where we can come in and have a chat with you, mainly about the training itself, but just give you the key tricks of what happens and explain to you the difference, why people get into addiction, the fact that trauma is usually a factor, and how you can just change your language, reduce stigma, and some of the things that people actually go through that are in recovery.
Yeah, so that's sort of, you know, general awareness for people, also for those that are in an addiction situation and those that, you know, are friends or family,
friends and families,
as well.
yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll make sure we sort of flag up where people can contact you to find out more about that training.
Yeah, that would be lovely. We're also in the process of giving people little pins, so that, you know, if I was having a panic attack, because one of the side effects is you do have panic attacks. I mean, one day I was feeling good and I thought, you know what, and I just got an all-day tram ticket and I got on and off every single tram, every single tram stop, just to give myself that confidence.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky in respect of I knew one of the conductors.
Yeah.
So when I was feeling a bit jittery and a bit, oh no, can I really do this? I saw a conductor and I thought, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'm safe now. Even though it wasn't one of the conductors I knew I was safe because of the training that they've had.
Yeah.
With regards, you know, autism and all that kind of problems that they'd have to deal with. And it's very similar to that, you know, with the mental health side of things.
Yeah.
I still can't get on the underground.
Right.
Even though I used to know it like the back of the hand. You know, quite often when I go to places, because of the way I've regressed with my memory, I think I'm still in 1980.
Right.
You know, so I'll go to somewhere and nothing's in the right place anymore.
Yeah.
And it's only through moving around and looking. I say to people that one day is a week to me.
Yeah.
Because that's how quickly my memory is coming back to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, just simple things like operating the computer. I knew Word inside out. I haven't got a clue now. You could pick someone up from the 1980s and drop them in, that's me. Because what I knew then is what I can remember. I can't remember what I know now.
Yeah.
I did describe it quite recently as my brain's a filing system. and I had a very good filing system. Alcohol, then decided he was going to refile everything. But as long as I got alcohol, he knew where to find it, so I was fine. I then went into detox, and it was like a hurricane had gone through the whole filing system.
Yeah.
And it's all over the floor, and I don't know where anything is.
Yeah.
The trouble is, I'm scared that alcohol is still hiding underneath one of these files I pick up off the floor. So I'm having to do it very carefully and very quietly.
Yeah.
And put it back all in the same system. But it's finding all of the right files at the right time that you need.
Yeah. And of course you've got new experiences that you've also got to file amongst all of that as well.
Yes.
And find space for where that needs to be as well.
Yeah. So the new filing system,
isn't it?
The new filing system's all right. It's putting the old filing system into the new filing system. Yeah, it's like a computer having a defrag program. That's what I need to do at the end of the day. I have to defrag everything.
So these pins that you were talking about, they sort of signify that somebody is an ally, that somebody's...
Yeah, so I've got a framework one on my double impact one, so I know a lot about framework, a very similar thing, and it just says Nottingham Inclusive Recovery, the same size as your button on your thing, and it's just so that people know that actually I'm having a bad time, I know this person could, and they could start a conversation with them.
If I needed help, I could ask this person,
Yeah, so if you were in your workplace, and a colleague starts to have problems or think that they know that they've got problems but don't know how to reach out, they can come to you.
Yeah.
You've done the training, you know how to contact us, we then know how to send you the forms or send you a booklet, because we do send you away with a long list of emails and links that you can use so that you could guide people to the right service, or at least one service that could guide them to the right service.
Wow, that's brilliant. I mean, Mel, it's been great talking to you and hearing about how your personal experiences sort of guided you in the work that you're doing now in terms of helping other people. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing that, and we'll certainly get out sort of the information around the training, so if anyone's listening and wants to find out more, then we'll let them know how to get in touch. But thank you very much for sharing your personal story as well as the work that you're doing.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
And good luck with your project as well.
Thank you very much.